Just taking a while. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I was too busy getting my cup of tea ready and didn't realise the time. Sorry, everybody. Welcome. I'm Kath from the Cheapskates Club, and I'm so glad you could join us tonight. Hello, Joy. Hi, Barb. Anne, Trish, Priya, Kerry. Gosh, Kerry, I just read your Facebook post. I hope your daughter and son-in-law are okay. Sue, Lynette, Emma Jane, Lynn, Mac, Michelle Smith, Suzanne, Delaney, nice to see you here. Leonie, gosh, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's really nice to have you here. My goodness, it is cold here. Oh, it says 13, so that's not too bad. Gosh, yesterday was a shocker. Wayne and I had appointments in the morning and the afternoon, so he had to take a day off work, and we were out in that weather. It just rained all day, and it blew a gale, and it was so cold. I don't think I've been that cold in a gazillion years. It was so cold that I couldn't get warm. Even after we came home, we had dinner, I still couldn't get warm. In the end, I just put on my camping socks, which are really thick thermal socks, and my PJs. I just crawled into bed at 7:20 last night. I was freezing. Thank goodness today's a bit better. I'm glad for the rain though. But yeah, hello Maureen, you made it, and Rebecca. Oh, good Kerry. Oh, he's got man flu. Oh, you know, poor thing. He'll never, you know. Patricia and Jules. Jules made it on time and I didn't. Sorry. Okay. Folks, continuing on from our restocking the stockpile, I had a question over the weekend. It popped up over the weekend about the roast. On my meal plan, you will see every Sunday is a roast. Every Sunday that since Wayne and I have been married, I have done a roast because we always had the Sunday roast at home. Now, Wayne's mum never cooked a roast. I don't remember her cooking a roast ever in the entire time I've known her, and that's a lot of years, way more than we've been married. I don't recall Wayne's mum ever cooking a roast. So he wasn't used to it unless he went to his granny's. He loves roasts. He loves the roast meat. He loves the roast potatoes, the pumpkin, the peas, the beans, the cauliflower, the broccoli, whatever I give him. Even sweet potato. I taught him to enjoy sweet potato. He just loves a roast dinner. So for nearly 31 and a half years, we've had a roast every Sunday. Now, whoops, that's Flossie in the corner. Now, often, especially in summer, he will do the roast on the barbecue outside, which suits me just fine because we don't have to heat up the house. It also means that I really just hand him the meat or tell him where it is and he does all the work, which again suits me just fine. But you might have noticed, if you follow my meal plan, or if you look at it, you'll see I alternate. I go chicken, beef, chicken, lamb, chicken, beef, chicken, lamb, repeat. That's what we do. I do that because chicken is cheaper than beef or lamb. So I alternate them. So we generally, start again, Kat, generally have 2 chicken roasts a month, 1 beef and 1 lamb. Now, lamb is really expensive. For my budget, these days, it's hideously expensive, but so is roasting beef getting really, really expensive too. But it's still affordable for us because I do a few simple things that you can do if you want to, so that you can make a roast, and roasts, I think, are almost as easy as slow cooker meals. Put them in the oven and forget about them. They are really good. Roasts are easy, but they can be cheap. They can be affordable. So even these days with higher prices, it's a bit nasty, but the higher prices, I'm still aiming to keep the meat component of our meals at under $5 for the meal. That's not $5 per serve or per person, but for the meal. So sometimes the meat will be more expensive, but that's balanced out by the cheaper meats, the cheaper cuts, or even if we have a meatless meal, it still averages out to $5 per meal for the meat component of our diet. Now, I'm really careful with how much meat we eat. I watch serving sizes a lot. I'm really fussy about the serving sizes or the portions that we get. And I know that my husband and my boys would love one of those massive steaks that you get from
the 700 gram one.
The 700 gram steak that you get from, forgotten the name of the place, but anyway, those big steaks and things, they would love those. And they would probably eat it. But 3 700 gram steaks, that's 2.1 kilos. So there goes $40 on one meal for 3 people. Hannah and I'd starve. So I don't do that. In fact, it's a rare occasion when we have steak. Hannah doesn't like steak. I'm a take it or leave it.
Makes it cheaper for you though.
It does make it cheaper, but I can take it or leave it. Wayne and the boys love it. So every now and then, I will be super mum, best wife in the world, best mum in the world. I'll give them steak. That's Kerry. Kerry says she's sure her husband only married her because she could cook roast lamb. Roast lamb is my favourite roast. So we don't do that very often. But back to the roasts and making them affordable. I know Joy does this too, but a couple of times a year, Woolworths, Coles, Aldi will have whole fresh chickens for $2.99 a kilo. When they are that cheap, I go and buy them, and I usually look for a number 20, which is a 2 kilo chicken. So it'll cost around $5.98, roughly $6 for that chicken. When I see them like that, I check the freezer room and I jam them in every little nook and cranny I can, because I need 26 chickens a year.
That's a lot of chickens.
13 chickens a year. No, 26 chickens a year. I need 26 chickens a year to fill our roasts, our chicken roast dinners. So I look for them when they're cheap, and I will buy to the limit. And if I have to go back the next day and get more, if we've got freezer room, I will do that and keep doing that. Now, they come on sale usually at the end of January, early February. Should be starting to come back on again sometime this month. June, July is another time, and you might find them at that price. End of September, October, perhaps. But it does happen. They do come on sale, and they are $2.99. Now, they've been at that price for the last 5 or 6 years. They'll come on sale at that price. So even if during the year they're more expensive, they will come down. So I stock up on them then. That's how we make chicken affordable. But when it comes to the beef and the lamb, that's a different thing. So roast beef, I need 13 pieces a year. And I need 13 pieces a year. No, 6 pieces a year.
6 to 7.
6 to 7 pieces a year, and the same of legs of lamb. I usually get 6 legs of lamb a year, and I make sure they do at least 2 meals. So I look for bigger pieces of beef, usually around the 1.5 to 1.8 kilo mark, rather than the smaller one. Yes, I'm paying a bit more, but I will get more meals out of it. I cook that beef. Now, when I do roast beef, we usually do it outside on the barbecue or in the oven. So I prepare it by trimming the fat off if there's any fat on it. And then I make a mixture with some plain flour, some whole grain mustard, a little garlic, so 2 or 3 cloves of garlic crushed into it, mix it all up. I smear that all over the meat. Massage it in and rub it and scrub it and fold it and roll it and whatever I make all over the meat. And I cook it like that. Now, if it's on the barbecue, it goes on the rotisserie. If it's in the oven, I put it on a rack in an oven bag. Sounds bizarre, I know, but I get those big oven bags, the giant oven bags. I think they're called turkey bags. Put the rack in the bag, a little bit of flour in the oven bag, just so it doesn't explode. Ask me how I know. Put the rack in, put your meat on, close it up, poke some holes in, put it in the oven. Now, on the barbecue, it takes 2.5 to 3 hours, depending. We like to cook it slow. So when I'm doing it inside, I do it at 160 on the fan forced oven, and I cook it 2.5, 3.5 hours. I like to cook it slowly, and it is just so tender and so delicious. Once it's cooked, this is, you probably all know this anyway, but once it's cooked, let it rest before you carve it. So 10 to 20 minutes, just take it out of the oven or turn the heat off, cover it with some foil if you want to, or I just put another baking dish over the top. Let it rest for 10 to 20 minutes and then slice it. That means the juices in the meat have time to settle or something. I don't know. I don't know the technicalities of it, folks, but it really is something worth doing. It works. But it also means that you can slice it nice and thin. Now, again, my boys, if I gave them slabs that were, 2 centimeters thick, they would think they were in heaven, but that's too much. So I have an electric knife that we use for carving. Now, it's a new one because the one I got for an engagement present died earlier this year. So believe it or not, I was able to actually replace it with exactly the same knife. So if it lasts another 30 years, I'll be ecstatic. But I use an electric knife. That means that I can get the slices exactly the thickness I want them to be. If you don't have an electric knife, make sure your carving knife is really, really sharp. 2 reasons. It'll cut better, but sharp knives are safer, much safer to use, especially for things like carving. So, sharp knife, and I slice all the meat in one go. So it's on the roast tray, on the carving tray, slice all the meat in one go, serve up what we need for that meal, and then I have containers. This is a lock and lock. This is a shop Tupperware that I picked up for $4. Once the meat's cool, I just put the next roast into the container and set it aside. When I make the gravy for our dinner, I do a double lock. We have gravy on our veggies, and then I pour the gravy over the roast beef that's in there, pop the lid on, put it in the freezer, and that's the next month's roast beef done. So when we're having roast beef, all I have to do is cook the veggies. I don't actually have to cook the meat again. It's already done. Now, if it's in a microwave safe container, you can nuke it, but I prefer to thaw it and then get my fry pan out, use the egg lifter to put it in the fry pan and gently reheat it in the fry pan. So gravy and all into the pan, low heat, just let it come up until it's warmed through. It is really, really good to do it like that. There's a fly. Where the heck did we get a fly from? Sorry, folks. The roast beef is lovely like that. So that means that one piece of roast beef has given us 2 meals. Now, there will always be, we call them chippings. I don't know what the real name is, the little crumbs of beef that are left on the carving plate. There might even be a couple of slices left. That becomes pie filling. It becomes French shepherd's pie. It becomes curry. It becomes soup, beef and veggie soup. Chop it up, put it into some soup, some stock with some veggies, make beef and veggie soup, which means that that piece of beef is then given us 3 meals, and so the costs come down even more. So even if I have paid, you know, $15 for that piece of beef, that's still within my $5 a meal meat limit. Hope this makes sense to you. So hope that makes sense. That's how I deal with beef. Now, when we do it on the barbecue, we have a baking tray underneath it to catch all the juices and stuff. When I do it in the oven, I use the oven bag. I keep the juices that are in that oven bag. Strain them off into a jug, let it cool, scrape the fat off the top. That becomes really good dripping, really, really good dripping that you can use for frying. You can use it for roasting. Roll your potatoes in it before you roast. It's really good dripping, so don't throw it away. The gel that's left underneath that, you can add to your soup stock, you can add it to gravy, you can give it to your dog, you can feed it to your chickens, all sorts of things, but you don't have to waste it. If you haven't started a dripping jar, it's only something I started about 12 months ago, saving the drippings. Mum used to do it all the time, and she had a little green container, little green pot thing that had a strainer in it and a lid, and it was just for the drippings. And then we all became health conscious and stopped eating real fats and switched over to vegetable oils and things, and that's great. It's really good. But every now and then, real dripping is really nice. Really, really nice. And it's not so very bad for you. Okay, now. There you go. Do you see that? Sue says, Woolworths have Steggles family roast chickens for $2.90. That's even cheaper, $2.90 a kilo from tomorrow. Woohoo!
No freezer room.
No freezer room. Can we buy another freezer? No. Okay, so that's how we do roast beef. It brings the price down and makes it an affordable meal for us. We all get plenty of meat. Nobody complains about not getting enough meat. Sometimes you don't like roast beef, so that's right. But nobody complains about not getting enough meat. I certainly make sure there are lots of vegetables on the plate. When I do a roast, we always have potato, we have pumpkin, we have sweet potato, onion. Sometimes I'll roast the carrot, sometimes I'll steam the carrot, then we'll have something green, broccoli, peas, beans, cauliflower, sometimes corn. I might roast some corn on the cob and put on the plate. We always have lots of veggies so that we don't need so much meat. I generally dry roast the veggies. By that I mean I peel them or chop them, scrub them, dry them, chop them, peel them, whatever, get them ready. Then I put them all into a big bowl, and I probably drizzle about a tablespoon of olive oil over the top of them. And again, you have to get in with your hands and toss them around so that they're all coated with the oil. Straight into, while that's happening, I've had the baking dish in the oven getting warm, straight into the hot baking dish, back into the oven. They crisp up really nicely if you do that. So, and there's not a lot of fat on them either. So, legs of lamb though have been even more expensive than pieces of roasting beef. So I've been watching them. They were on sale 3 weeks ago for $7.99 a kilo. It was like, I haven't seen them that price for I don't know how long. So again, it was a case of jamming them in wherever I could. I only had room for 3, but it's 3 more than we had, and it's better than paying $15.99 a kilo for them. So they were really good value. When we do a leg of lamb, I do the same thing. I try and get one that's a bit bigger because yes, I'm paying more initially, but it costs less in the overall scheme of things. So leg of lamb is my favourite roast. Always done on the rotisserie on the barbecue because it's so much nicer. Same deal, a foil tray underneath it to catch the dripping. Now what I do is I actually peel 3 or 4 cloves of garlic and I slice them into little thin slivers. Then I have a little veggie knife and I poke holes all over that lamb and I shove a piece of garlic into it. And then we have rosemary in the garden, so we get little sprigs of rosemary, just the little tiny single sprigs, I'm using my hand, sorry, little sprigs of rosemary, and one of those into each slot. Then I squeeze lemon juice over the whole thing. Put it out in the rotisserie, and again, it's a slow roast. So we'll often put that on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to eat at 6:30, 6:37, so it's slowly roasted. It doesn't shrink a lot when we do that, but my goodness, it tastes good. Now, I will go out every hour or so and baste it with more lemon juice. And it is just delicious. It is so good. The lamb just falls off the bone, and by that I mean literally you grab the bone and it just pulls out. So that goes either straight into the stock pot or straight into a container and into the freezer to make soup and make stock. And same deal. I just let it sit for a while, get the knife out, slice it up. Now, we will often get 3 meals from a leg of lamb, 3 roast dinners from a leg of lamb. They just, I don't know, I just seem to be able to get more out of it. And it's the same deal. Into a container, let it cool, gravy over the top, into the freezer. I have tried freezing the lamb and beef without the gravy, but it tends to dry out. So you can try it if you want to, but I prefer it frozen in the gravy so that it doesn't dry out. It's just nicer when you're reheating it. And to reheat it, same deal. Let it thaw in the fridge, pop it into a pan and gently bring it back up to temperature. And it's just delicious. So if I'm paying $17 or $18 for a leg of lamb and I get 3 roast dinners out of it, that's $5 a roast dinner. And then I've got the chippings that will make a shepherd's pie, French shepherd's pie, sweet lamb curry. That's a good old Australian Monday night favourite from years ago, is a sweet lamb curry, which used the leftover roast lamb. It's really easy to do. Doesn't need a lot of meat. The French shepherd's pie doesn't need a lot of meat. Fritters, lamb fritters, don't need a lot of meat. So you can get 4 meals out of your $18 leg of lamb. And then you've got your bone and whatever's left to make your stock or your soup. So if I'm doing soup in the crock pot, it's 6 litres. So that's 12 to 18 serves of soup, depending on who's eating it and how big their bowl is. So that's and brings the cost of the leg of lamb per meal down again. It makes it all more affordable so that we can still have those things that people are telling me they're just beyond their budget. And I understand that if you're paying $18 for a leg of lamb for 1 meal, yes, that is way beyond my meat budget. But it doesn't have to be because we're getting more out of it. So we're getting at least 4 meals then, which brings it down to about $4 something, $4.50, $4.60 a meal. So that's under budget. So that works too. Now, I've lost my train of thought. Again, I serve lots of veggies with the roast lamb and usually mint sauce. Hannah doesn't like the mint sauce, but everyone else likes mint sauce. So we do the gravy, we do the mint sauce. Same deal with the drippings. Let them cool, scrape the fat off the top into the dripping container. The gel that's left underneath can go into your stock pot. It can go into your gravy. If you've got I used to have one, I don't know what happened to it, a fat divider jug. We can pour your hot fat in and it sort of settled on the bottom, and you could pour the juice off the top straight into your gravy pot. You can make your gravy with the pan juices that way. I'm always too impatient. I've got the gravy well and truly made before that's even out of the oven. So I tend to let it cool, scrape the fat off, put it aside like that, and do that with it. So you're not wasting anything. Absolutely nothing gets wasted. And that's what makes it affordable. That's what makes it easy to have roast beef once a month, roast lamb once a month, roast chicken twice a month, and everybody's happy with their Sunday roast. Right, catch up with. Oh, Meryl, that sounds, Meryl Williams, right? Puts a slice of bread under the roast. Yum. Oh my gosh. I love bread, fried bread and dripping. So, after a lamb roast, diced lamb, make delicious lamb fritters. Yes. All right. Okay, roast potatoes in dripping, Maureen, aren't they good? They are so much better. Olive oil is the next best thing, I think, for roast potatoes, just because you get that nice flavour. But, oh, potatoes and dripping, yum. Dripping on bread, yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so sorry, ladies, just catching up. All right. Okay. All right. So roasts are affordable. They are really easy to do. I think next to a slow cooker meal, a roast is the next easiest meal to do, because literally you put the meat in the oven or on the barbecue in our case and let it cook. I generally do the veggies early in the day when I've still got the energy and I'm not feeling quite so they're ready to go. Now I don't soak them in water. I toss them in oil, coat them with the oil. They don't go brown or start to oxidize at all. And then when it's time to put them in the oven, they go into the baking dish and they just get turned every 20 minutes or so until they're done. It's a really easy, for me, a roast is a really easy dinner, especially if I'm doing for more than just the family. We might have visitors, might be family function or something, when we're doing roast, Christmas, all those sorts of things. Roast is so much easier than trying to do anything else, I think, apart from a slow cooker meal. So I love a good roast. There we go. Now, right. Hello, Lorraine. Not to worry about being late. I was late too. Alrighty. All right. So, hot meat roll. Oh, yes, with gravy. Yum. Hello, chickens. All right. So, we've covered the beef. We've covered the lamb. The chickens I try to buy on sale, so they're really affordable. I buy a number 20, which costs under $6. It's around 2 kilos. It gets roasted. Now, I generally, probably 3 out of 4 times, will stuff the chicken with a bread stuffing. So it's just crumbed bread, onion, herbs, diced tomato, and an egg to bind it all, and I stuff it. Now, I use the mixed herbs or the Italian herbs. You can use sage, you can use whatever you like, but I like the Italian herbs and onion and a diced tomato. The tomato gives it, keeps it moist, but gives it a bit of colour through. Otherwise, it's just sort of yellow bread. So into the chicken. Now, I usually, when I do that, put the stuffing under the skin too. So that means you've got to get your hands dirty again. Get a little bit of, pick up your chicken, and you can lift the chicken skin and put your fingers under it and wriggle it in to make little pockets. Push the stuffing into those little pockets. You can do it on the breast, all around it, wherever you can get into your fingers. Push the stuffing under, and then shock horror, I get some butter, real butter, and soft butter, and I rub it all over the chicken, So it's a nice big greasy butterball chicken. And it goes in on a rack into the baking dish and into the oven. And I usually do it in my oven. I need to do it at 190. Depends on what your oven is, of course. But goes in. It takes a little bit longer because of the stuffing. You have to make sure that that chicken is cooked. So I use a meat thermometer for my chickens. Make sure it comes up to at least 190 degrees to know that it's done. It takes a little bit longer. It takes between 2 to 2.25 hours. In my dodgy old oven, the new ovens are going in soon, yay! And it might be super fast. I don't know. So you'll need to work out that your own oven. But that's all I do with the chickens. Same deal. Bring it out, let it rest for a while, and then when I'm cutting them up, Hannah gets the wings. Alan and Thomas get the drumstick and the bit of thigh bit that goes around it. And then one of the breasts is cut in half for Wayne and I. That leaves a whole heap of chicken left over, plus all the bits under the bottom. So with that, depending on what I want to do, it becomes chicken fried rice, it becomes sweet and sour chicken. I can pick some off, generally flake some off, probably about half a breast, and add it to chicken soup or chicken and corn soup or chicken, corn and potato soup is really nice. What else do I do with it?
Chicken curry,
chicken pie filling, and that's really easy. That's just cooked chicken with some onion, a little garlic. If you've got mushrooms, throw in mushrooms, diced carrot, diced potato, corn, whatever you've got, some corn, some peas if you want to.
The sad veggies in the fridge.
All the sad veggies, that's exactly right. All the sad veggies in the fridge, and then thicken it up with either white sauce or a tin of cream chicken soup if you don't make white sauce. That makes a really nice pie filling. So you can do chicken pot pies like that, or you can do regular chicken pies. You can do a big one, you can do little ones. It's really good like that. You use it about party pies, yes. You can do all those sorts of things with that. That gives me 2 meals from a chicken. But then I've got the frame and all the little bits that are left from chopping it up. So the frame goes in the stock pot with all the bits, and celery, onion, carrots, bay leaf. Let it cook down, strain it all, pull the bones out, and I leave the veggies in because they're chopped up veggies that I've deliberately put in for the soup. And the meat, tip it back into the stock, let it go cold again, and skim the fat off the top, because believe it or not, there will be heaps of fat come off it too, especially with all that butter. Skim the fat off the top, toss that, put it in the compost, feed it to the chickens or something, and then I usually add about half a cup of rice, bring it back to the boil, let the rice cook, and that's my chicken soup. And it's good. It's really good. So we get 3 meals from almost 1 roast chicken. So my $6 chicken is actually costing me $2 a meal for the meat component. So it's under budget. That extra money is what goes towards the roast beef or the roast lamb or
the steak.
Or sometimes the corned beef. And it just means that we get more variety instead of just having mince and chicken fillets. We get a bit more variety. So roasts might seem expensive, but if you plan them and cook them to your plan, they're not. They're actually very budget friendly, really easy to do. Most people really enjoy a roast, and it gives you a lot of options for your other meals. dipping bread on toast. Oh, so, sorry. Oh, lots of comments I'm missing here. Pickled leg of lamb. Kerry, try it. You'll hate me for saying this, but try it with a piece of corned beef. One of my favourite things to do when we were first married, I haven't done it for years, was get a piece of corned beef and roast it. Corned beef roasted is so good.
It seems wrong.
It does seem wrong, doesn't it? But it tastes great. It is amazing. So try it. Try this salt dough thing with corned beef. See how you like it. Corned beef, I've been keeping my eye on. When it comes on sale, we need to pick up a few pieces. Come into winter, we tend to have it more in winter than we do in summer, but it's a good standby. And again, it's an easy throw it in the crock pot and it's done meal, like corned beef. So Kathy stuffs chickens with whole lemons and oregano. Yep, does give it a nice flavour. So they're all the ways that I do roasts that still fit in our budget. Everyone still likes them. Nobody's grumbling that they're not getting enough to eat. They're really easy. Roasts are affordable. Even if you're paying a little bit more than I am for them, it's still affordable. You know, here's the thing. If you're on a grocery budget, if you're on a tight grocery budget, you can't be store loyal and you can't be brand loyal. You need to shop to your budget. So if Butcher A has cheap sausages, that's where you get your sausages. If Butcher B has cheap chicken fillets, that's where you get your chicken fillets. If, you know, supermarket A has cheaper legs of lamb, that's where you buy your legs of lamb. You need to not be store or brand loyal if you are on a budget. You need to shop to your budget. Now that might mean that your shopping takes you half an hour extra each week, a little bit longer. But for most of us, especially here in Australia, for most of us, we have Coles and Woolies close by. Most of us have an Aldi close by. Then there are independent greengrocers and independent butchers reasonably close to most of us. Even people that live rural, in country towns, will often have a couple of supermarkets that they can go to, a good local butcher, their farm gate sales, fruit and veg or whatever. So the options are there. You just need to decide what's more important to you, sticking to your grocery budget or half an hour at home with your feet up. Some weeks it might be that half an hour at home with your feet up, in which case go for it, because if you need it, you need it. Other weeks you'll have the energy to be able to plan your shopping so that you can do the store A, store B, store C, fruit shop, butcher, whatever, and get it done. You might need to change the way you do your shopping. Instead of doing it in one hit, break it down and do some here, some there, break it down over a couple of days. You might be like me and go, I hate grocery shopping, it's too hard, I'm never going to do it again, so I'm just going to do it once and that's it. And plan for a once a year grocery shop and then buy your meat every 3 months like I do. Whatever works for you. But if you're on a budget, you can't be brand loyal and you can't be store loyal. You need to be flexible, and you need to be flexible enough to know that it's worth your while to shop around and look for the cheapest, look for alternatives, find what works better for you. I think it's Thomas, isn't it? I don't know. We can hear creaking in the background. It's the only way that you'll be able to stick to your budget if you really want to. Right. Yeah, see? Joy. Joy will know. I have a fridge full of butter at the moment because, and some of the freezer too.
It's on sale again in Q1.
butter was on sale. Butter, real butter, was on sale in January. Really, really cheap. It was, easily half the price, wasn't it? It was really cheap. So I bought as much as I could, and we've been slowly working our way through it. Now, not baking at the moment because we don't have the oven to bake has meant I haven't been using as much. That's okay because we'll get through it. But yeah, I like to buy in bulk when I can. I always get a giggle because you see when the supermarket flyers come and they'll say, you know, mince, bulk buy, and it's like 1.5 kilos. And I'm going, in whose world is 1.5 kilos a bulk buy? Even my mother, who lived on her own, wouldn't have thought that was a bulk buy of me. You know, I will buy 10, 20, 30 kilos at a time, depending on what it is and how much it is, and fill the freezer. I have to tell you, folks, we had spag bowl for tea tonight.
Delicious.
It was delicious, wasn't it? And I used some of my dehydrated mince because I didn't take the mince out of the freezer this morning. And it got to 4 o'clock and I went, oh no. So I grabbed the jar off the shelf and I measured out the cup, put some water over it, and then I thought, oh, onion. And so I added my dehydrated onion to it instead of chopping an onion. Put a plate over it, let it sit there till I was ready to cook it, tipped it into the wok, added the basil and the garlic and the, the tomato sauce. Oh my goodness, it was delicious and it is so convenient. I cannot wait to do more of that dehydrated mince. It was just so convenient. I mean, I think freezing it is convenient, but you still have to wait for it to thaw. You either have to cook it and let it thaw as it cooks, or nuke it, or if you forget to take it out the day before and put it in the fridge. But just having those mince granules on the shelf and just being able to pour boiling water over them that one little thing has just rocked my world this last few weeks. Absolutely amazing. So, shortbread. We were talking about shortbread the other day. Joy Hannah says butter's on sale at NQR again this week. Is that right?
$10 a kilo. So not as good as it is.
$10 a kilo, but it's not as good as what we got in
January.
January.
But it's the 1 kilo block.
Oh, they're big blocks.
Yeah, so they've got salted and unsalted.
Oh, okay, that makes it good. Delaney, how long you dehydrated the mince for? Okay, I put the mince, cook your mince, needs to be browned first, cooked it, drained it, rinsed it really well because you don't want any fat in it at all. Then I put it in the dehydrator, just spread it in the trays, put it in, and I had it on 70 degrees Celsius, so 70 C, and it takes will depend on the meat. One lot took 4 and a bit hours. Then another lot I did took about 6 hours, but it needs to be dry all the way through. So I tended to pick up, to test it, I picked a bigger granule and sort of, if I could snap it, bend it, it wasn't dry enough. Once it got rock hard, I had to snap it, and if it was still wet in the center, I just gave it a little bit longer. So it will depend, I guess, too, on your dehydrator, but it actually doesn't take a long time to dehydrate, but it's really so convenient. I'm so excited about it. I don't know. I don't buy butter from Aldi, Joy. Joy says Aldi's $5 for 500 grams.
Same price.
Same price. Okay. I can say something then. With the mince. Oh yeah. And then just make sure though that it's browned, drained and rinsed, and then let it dry. You don't want any fat in it because the fat will go rancid over time. we all know fat goes rancid over time. So you want it as fat-free as you can possibly get it. So what I do is I brown it in my pan, drain it into the wok, rinse it under hot water. Give it a really good rinse under hot running water I use. Then I let it sit for a little while, give it a shake every now and then to make sure all the excess water's gone, just because you don't want to add extra drying time to it really. Spread it out in your dehydrator trays, bung it in at 70, and yeah, test it after about 4 hours, 4.5 hours, and see. But choose the bigger chunks and see how it goes. We haven't tried doing stir-fry steaks or anything like that yet. We had thought about it. I'm a bit worried that will go a bit like jerky, and we're not a fan of jerky. I don't know how it would rehydrate to use in stir-fries, but if I have a bit,
have to save 1 or 2 pieces.
Save 1 or 2 pieces and try it and see how that goes. With the dehydrated mince, oh my gosh, mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. Ah, yes. Well, now that we are able to stay overnight here in Victoria anyway, we're actually going away. Yay! For a few days. We've got the long weekend because this weekend coming up is Queen's birthday weekend here in Victoria. So Wayne's taken Friday off. So we are going to just quietly disappear into the bush. We can do bush camping. We're set up for bush camping. So we're going to head off. It's going to be a bit chilly. There might be snow. There'll definitely be frost. But it will be fun. It's been so long since we've been away anywhere. I'm actually really excited. So it'll be good. Because we usually
you're usually away now.
We're usually away now. Yeah, we usually go away sort of end of May and take June and July for our trips. But we spend during summer from, you know, sort of beginning of November till, yeah, July, we're away most weekends. So, Glennis, does it take on the look and feel of TVP? When it's dry, yes. It still looks like mince, so it's still that browny, grey cooked mince colour. That makes sense. You know what the colour of browned mince is? It's that sort of mousy colour. But when you rehydrate it, it's just like freshly cooked mince. It's as if you've just cooked it, just browned it, and it's ready to use. Absolutely brilliant. Love it. Really, really easy. So yeah, it is a bit like TVP. Although TVP is more square because of the way it's made. So this is literally just crumbled mince. So it looks like little crumbles, but yeah, it works really well. Okay, folks, roasts are affordable. If you think you can't afford it, have a think about it. If you go over to our website, I think I've got one that's called Take an $8 Barbecue Chook. Well, now they're $10. So I need to change that, don't I? I wrote that a couple of years ago, and explains what to do with the roast chicken and how to get more out of it. I've done a lot of blog posts, a lot of articles on how to stretch your roasts so that they're affordable without being mean. Nobody wants to be mean when it comes to food. You don't want to waste it, but you don't want to be stingy. So there's heaps on the website about it. So go over to Cheapskates Club, by all means, have a look around, see what you can find. There's plenty there to talk about it. I'll be back on Tuesday. I'll be home late Monday night, so I'll be back on Tuesday, back here on Tuesday, and we'll talk more about what we can do to restock our pantry so that we're ready for whatever life throws at us. Thank you all for joining me. If you've enjoyed the show, please give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. I shall see you on Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.